you know, this won't freak out the couple of guests that we have, but we normally have around 15 blanks in a sermon notes. If you'll notice, between front and back, we have 121 blanks for this particular sermon. But I'm not preaching this evening, so I figured I could go a good 2.5 hours this morning. Now the guests are freaking out, you know, that's not going to happen. But I do want to walk you through a bit of a workshop type concept for you this morning regarding the idea of defining your purpose. It's something you hear about a lot, especially in the business world, of going and goal setting or finding your purpose or choosing a focus for your time, for the way that you live. And I want to talk about that because I do believe it is a biblical idea and essentially kind of group together both what the Bible teaches and what different leaders and business leaders and such have put together, and try to help you with a little bit of a few exercises that will help you put together what your purpose might be. Psalm 20 verse 4 says, "May he give you the desires of your heart and make all your plans succeed." Psalm 37, 4 and 5, "Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." Proverbs 21, 5, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty." Proverbs 13, 16, "All who are prudent act with knowledge, but fools expose their folly." Proverbs 29, 18, "Where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained, but happy is he who keeps the law." Isaiah 32, 8, "But the noble make noble plans, and by noble deeds they stand." Even Luke 14, verse 28, and probably a passage we're more familiar with, "Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost if you have enough money to complete it?" There's a sense in which we all put ideas and focuses and plans in place, and then we all, probably most of the time, see those plans not happen. It made me think of this idea. Maybe you sit down and do some goal setting for your New Year's resolution. We're getting close to that point where people are going to start doing that. My goal in 2021 is to accomplish the goals I set in 2020. How many of you are thinking that these days? Problem is, if we put the rest of that in there, which I should have done in 2019 because I made a promise in 2018, which I planned in 2017. That's probably more realistic for many of us. It's not that 2020 got in the way, it's that we're still trying to do the things that we planned to do 5 years ago. I plan to lose weight. I plan to exercise more. I plan to read my Bible more. I plan to pray more. I plan to get this bad thing out of my life and put this good thing into my life. And all these plans and goals, but rarely do we ever actually sit down and do the goals that we have in place. And so a lot of people have devised a lot of methods in order to try to get that done. And I think that's probably the first problem we run into. If you look up and just Google how to make plan, goal setting, how to make resolutions, you will come up with idea after idea after idea on how to do it. I presented to you the possibility of choosing a word last year. I think that was last December I preached on that. And I still love to do that. You choose a word that you're going to focus on that's going to define the way that you make decisions and the things you try to accomplish for the year. So my word for 2020 was finish, because I am the world's worst at getting 90% done and never actually finishing a project. So my word was finish. And I'll just blame it on 2020 that I didn't get anything done. I mean, it's one of those, but there's an idea of being able to focus in on something in your character that you lack okay, I'm going to spend the year developing that side of myself and trying to change the way that I act. Others will suggest detailed planners that will help you get organized, like Franklin Covey systems, and you can go to Staples right down the street and they'll have an entire shelf or rack full of planners right now that are just designed to force you to be organized. The problem is I found out they don't work if you never write anything in them, because I've had a lot of those planners through the years and thrown a lot of them in the trash before the first month of the year was done. Others will talk about vision boards. You put in your head, or even you cut out pictures or print them off and you put them on a board or on a bulletin board on the wall of it. Might have the beautiful new house you want to have, or a brand new car, or maybe it's family, or maybe it's a vacation you want to go on. And so the idea is to put your goals in front of your eyes all the time so that you stay motivated, because honestly, probably that's some of our problems. It's not that we don't know how to do something, it's that we aren't motivated to actually do the things we say we should do. Others will talk about creating goals, and to create goals, you got to create SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based goals. And that's what makes them SMART. Others will talk about create milestones. So you might have a big goal, but then you need to make small goals that lead toward the big goal so that you can celebrate small victories on the way to the big victory. And so you create a reward system. Others talk about setting up accountability partners. This is my goal, and I might tell Steve, check in on me every month and make sure that I'm actually not snacking or exercising, or getting a running partner, or getting somebody who will help hold you accountable to do the things that you want to do. The problem is that goals typically don't actually change anything. All they do is they put something in front of you. Goals are like dangling a carrot in front of a donkey on the end of a stick, so that the donkey might move toward the carrot, but if the goal is always moving too, well, then you never actually reach your goal. Others will talk about write them down and make mantras that you repeat every single day. But I'm going to tell you, we probably all ran into the same problem in 2020, in that there were a lot of issues that were just outside of our control. My wife and I had the goal this past year of taking our kids to Washington, D.C. And we were going to tour the White House and tour the Capitol and go to a lot of the historic sites and see the amazing things that are there. Such we were studying the U.S. Were we studying this last year? Studying the U.S. government. And so it was good to go. I say we. They were studying the U.S. government, because my wife does all that hard work and I just show up to eat supper. So but there, to kind of put real things in front of our kids that they'd never seen before. And we were going to go at the end of March. And it was just sad to watch ticket after ticket after ticket of DC plans just disappear or get refunded and not happen. And it just got to the point where everything shut down. That was completely out of our control. And the truth is, a lot of times, the goals aren't always the problem. It's that there's so many variables that interfere with us accomplishing things. And 2020 has taught us that. It's taught us that the best laid plans still don't account for everything. They still don't make things happen. And so goals tend to point us into direction, and sometimes they provide us motivation, but honestly, they rarely get us actually moving. Because sometimes our goals are too big, or our goals are too far away, or there's too many obstacles, or there's too many chances for failure. And I like the way James Clear wrote it in a book that I'd recommend to you. It's excellent, book called Atomic Habits. It says goals are good for setting direction, but systems are best for making progress. He also said you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than you are with your current results. I find that to be true. Then honestly, we'd be better off focusing on the direction than what direction we're actually going than what we've actually accomplished. And he also said, goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making that progress. Well, the problem number 3, we're gonna get back to Scripture, so hold on, and the workshop and that side of this whole thing. He also said, winners and losers have the same goals. And I'm going to tell you, when I read that statement in his book, a light bulb went off for me in a way that I had never thought about it before. Because I have always read book after book after book that talked about goal setting and how important that is. And if you write down your goals, you're more likely to achieve your goals and all these types of things. And I have year after year written down my goals and written down them over and over and over again and changed them through the year, slightly adjusted them to match reality and things like that. And I find year after year after year, I don't reach the goal that I set in front of me. And there was just a lot of truth in this statement. Winners and losers have the same goals. Put that in a spiritual concept for you. Have you ever noticed that there can be a vast difference between two different Christians? And that one Christian is living a faithful life from everything we can see and everything we can tell. They're faithful, they're righteous, they make the right decisions, they seem like they have life put together. And then there's this other Christian who has been a Christian for just as long, but they seem to struggle, they seem to have difficulties. It's not that those two very different types of people have two different sets of goals. They both want to go to heaven. They both want to honor God. But one of them is doing it and one of them is not. The difference is not the goals. The difference is the daily decisions. And that's where it really becomes reality when it comes to the way that we approach life. The truth is, we often want our goals without the change required to meet our goals. That's my fault. That's what I struggle with. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know about the way your life has gone and the trajectory you have followed, but the truth is, oftentimes the change is not in where we say we want to end up. The change needs to happen in what we're doing today to get to where we want to end up. It's not that we don't have the right goals, it's that we don't have the right daily activity. We might need to change our outlook. We might need to change our attitude. There might be habits in place that need to be eliminated or habits that need to be created. There might be processes that need to be developed in order to establish a regular activity that leads you to your goals. There might need to be a new focus. There might need to be changes in your character. The truth is, the goal of goals should be to cause us to be the kind of person that achieves the goals that we've decided to achieve. The goals that we have in front of us are there to provide us a direction and a motivation and a reason for doing the hard work every day to get there. And I think sometimes we spend so much time looking at the goal and wondering why we're not there yet. When the truth is, the reason we're not there yet is because we've never actually started going. I want to help you with that today. That's what the 121 blanks on your paper are about. And we won't have time to go through all of this step by step the way I want to, but I do at least want to give you the tools so that you can get started on figuring out what it is you need to do today to reach the goals. To reach the goals that we should have. Back in that book again, that just probably the best book I read this year. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Think about that. You do not rise to the level of your goals. Just because you say you want to end up somewhere doesn't mean that that's where you're going to end up. The truth is, your goals really don't matter if you don't have a system in place or daily activity in place that gets you to the goals. And so we really need to evaluate and think about what the system is that we have in place in order to get where we want to get to. Seth Godin says, the thing about goals is that living without them is a lot more fun in the short run. Seems to me, though, that the people who get things done, who lead, who grow, and who make an impact, those people have goals. And so what we find as we really look at this, and we're going to look at this from both a secular and a spiritual viewpoint this morning, successful goal setting begins with self-awareness, and that's where we're going to spend our time today. And then it focuses on our purpose, and it is dependent on our discipline, and it is aided by accountability. All of these things are necessary in order for us to reach our goals. God placed in front of us the goal of heaven. Would you agree with that? And whether you say that should be our primary goal, I would argue our primary goal is to bring honor and glory to God. But the destination that we have in front of us, what God put in front of us, the carrot that he has dangled for us, is eternity with him in paradise. Everybody with me on that? But does having that dangling in front of you get you there? Is that what gets you there? Not at all. And I think we all recognize that. There are a large majority of our world, of our country at least, that believes in the truth of heaven, that heaven exists. Many more people believe heaven exists than they believe hell exists. I think the last time Barna did a study on that, it was around 70-something% of Americans believe in heaven, and like 30-something% of Americans believe in hell. So we're okay. We as a community, a society, are okay with believing in heaven. The problem is, just because you believe that that goal is there does not mean that you're going to do what's required today to get there. I'm not saying we earn heaven. Please don't put those words in my mouth. I am saying that we are to work toward the calling we've been given. And if we're not willing to do that work, we jeopardize heaven. We jeopardize our destination. Many people who say they want to go to heaven are also just as willing to admit they're not willing to do the work to get there. They don't have a self-awareness about who they are. They don't really know what it is that they want. All they know is they just want the pie in the sky. It's this unrealistic dream place that is far away and unattainable. And so they never develop a self-awareness or a purpose or a discipline that gets them there. And I don't want that to be us. I want us to put something in front of our eyes and then shoot for it daily and do what is required in order to make that happen. So this is where the back of your bulletin comes in handy, okay? It's just a lot of blanks. I recognize that. I'm going to tell you what to put in the different blanks on the back of your bulletin. So if you've got a pen or a pencil and a bulletin in front of you, here's what I want you to do with the back of your bulletin. We're going to do this step by step. I probably won't give you quite enough time to do any of the steps, but you can write the steps down on the front side or the inside of your bulletin in the notes. But here's what I want you to do. Today we're going to work on self-awareness, because that's really what's required in order to reach the goal. That's our first step. And what I want you to do in the first 5 blanks on the back, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right up top, I want you to write 5 things you have accomplished that you're proud of. I don't care what area of life you're thinking of. It could be business. It could be family. It could be your faith. It could be in whatever area of life. It can be any area of life that you're thinking about. Write down 5 things that you've accomplished that you're proud of. They don't have to be recent things. They can be things from any point in your life. They can be from when you were a kid, you got a trophy for spitting further than anybody else. I don't care what it is. If that's really what you're proud of, let that be on your sheet of paper. It could be an award you won at work. It could be a perfect attendance record you won at school. It can be a relationship that you restored that you never thought would be restored. Whatever it is. The goal of this, just as you think through, is to realize that you can accomplish. I think for some of us, we believe we are so stuck in a rut that we've never allowed ourselves to even think about or imagine outside of what we think of on a daily basis. We don't think about what we've accomplished, we just think about what needs to be done. I have this problem myself. I walk out into my yard just the other day. My wife and I were standing on the deck of our apartment while we were on our little staycation away from the kids, which just made it a vacation. Sorry, kids. And we were standing there on the deck and looking out over the back hill that many of y'all have seen in our house. And my wife was saying, "Isn't this beautiful?" And I said, "I see a project there, and I see a project there, and I see a project there. And all I could see were all the things that still needed to be done. And I struggled with just reveling in God's beauty and what He had created. And I think sometimes we do that in life. We get so focused on what needs to be done, we forget that there's much that has already been accomplished and things that we need to give God credit for that we've already accomplished. Most of you are looking at me instead of writing, but the other part of this is for you to recognize what's important to you. Is it tasks completed? Is it relationships you've enjoyed? Is it awards? Do you really appreciate the accolades that come with accomplishment? What is it that is important to you? You don't really realize that. There's no self-awareness there if you don't think through this process. And so it's good to think through. All right. Step 2, and this is on your paper, you've got those 4 main squares here in the middle of your paper. And on the top there is 1, the second one says 2, the third one says 3, the fourth one says 4. I want you to identify 4 distinct areas of importance in your life. Just kind of as an example, it might be faith. I would encourage you to put faith as one of them. That should be a main area of your life, I would hope. Might be family, occupation, education, some hobby, friendship, social, money, finances, body, mind and emotion. There's a lot of different areas of life, and I know that's a lot more than 4. It doesn't have to be any of those, but choose 4 areas of your life that you think are important. 4 areas of your life that are important. God does. Love the Lord your God with heart, soul, mind, and strength, right? I'm not saying those have to be your 4. Okay, you can be more specific than that. But God recognizes there are different parts of our lives that are important that we should focus on, and I think it's important to do that. Okay, 4 areas of focus. And this is where I'm probably going to lose you because you're not going to have enough time to do this. And so you can flip back on the inside and write down these instructions, okay? But the third step that's important to do as you go through this thought process is what 20 things do you want in the next 10 years? What 20 things do you want in the next 10 years? They are not things that you think you can achieve necessarily. This is a dreaming step, okay? This isn't what you think will happen in the next 10 years. This is just if there were nothing holding you back, what would you like to see happen in 10 years? And I would encourage you to do that inside of each of the 4 categories. Particularly put 5 in each one at least. So if one of your categories is faith, since we're sitting here as a congregation, name 5 things in that area of your life you would like to see happen in the next 10 years. It might be something about the growth of the church. It might be a family member that you want to teach the gospel to. It might be your own personal growth and relationship with God. It might be that you've wanted to be a preacher and you think you can do a much better job than I can, which is not really setting your bar that high. And that's what you want to do. I don't know what your goals are, but I want you to think through what your goals are. These are dreams, desires, just want-tos. What is it you want out of life? It could be, if one of your areas was hobbies, it might be some accomplishment in your hobby. If one of your area was family, it might mean add another child. It might mean restore a relationship. It might mean, who knows? Who knows what it is? These are just what you would like to see. Nothing is off limits, whether you believe it's possible or not. And for the sake of time, I'm going to keep moving forward because I know you're going to struggle to get that one done in the time that we have allotted this morning. When you get done with that, notice beside each one of those little bullet point blanks is a small blank. And what I want you to do is put a time frame on each item. Is it something you could accomplish within a year or less? Is it something you think it would take 3 years to accomplish, 5 years to accomplish, or 10 or more years? Okay? Put that in there. Identify how long you think each one will work. And then I want you to circle in each one what is the single most important one to you. Circle what is most important to you. So if you had faith as one of your categories and you listed, I want to pray more, I want to read my Bible more, and I want my son to become a Christian, I'm probably going to circle that last one. Just me. That would be most important to me, and therefore I'm going to circle that because it's most important. Okay? Next to last step, identify why. On that one single goal, identify why it is most important. And then here's our last step, and then we're going to move back into scriptures. Our last step is this. And there's all of them on the left, so for those of you who are struggling to keep up writing your notes, I'm trying to put them all up there for you. Here's the last step. What type of person do you have to be to accomplish these goals? What is it in you that needs to change? If you were to imagine somebody who had accomplished all the things that you have on your paper that you want to accomplish, what character quality is it in them that you think would stand out most? Is it their organization? Is it their diligence? Is it their ability to relate to others? What character quality or habit is it that they have that sets them apart? Because the part that is always left out of all of these goal-setting sessions that I've seen through the years is this. They focus on the do's and they don't focus on the who. They focus on what we want to do, but not who we have to be to accomplish these things. Goals don't make things happen. Your character is what makes things happen. I have struggled with this a lot over the years. I've struggled with the idea of how is it that you go about being and accomplishing and doing the things that I know that I probably need to do, or things that I want to do. And I have not been able to organize myself into accomplishing more. My wife guarantees me that if I were more organized, that could change, but I've not seen it. The truth is, I get done the things that I care most about, and I don't get done the things that I don't care about. Do you find that to be true? Do you struggle to feed your kids? No, because you care about them getting fed. It's the stuff you care about that happens so easily. James Clear in that same book says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. And Mark Victor Hansen said, by recording your dreams and goals on paper, you set in motion the process of becoming the person you most want to be. Put your future in good hands, your own. The truth is, what we should be talking about more than anything else, even though we put it under the guise of goal setting or creating new habits or changing the day-to-day activity of what you do in order to accomplish goals that you've set before you, the truth is, what we're really getting to is that we have to be people who change. We have to be people who are willing to go about and change who we are. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry says, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And then this smart fella, Adam Shanks, said, a plan without change is just scribblings on paper. I'm going to tell you the truth. I have scribbled a lot on paper over the years. A lot. And the part that I've struggled with is what Jody read earlier for us in Philippians chapter 3, where we've got that famous section of Scripture, I forget what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal of the upper call that is found in Christ Jesus. But listen to what it says after that, the rest of what Jody read. Therefore, let all of us who are mature, this is verse 15, all of us who are mature think this way. And if you think differently about anything, God will reveal this to you also. In any case, we should live up to whatever truth we have attained. Join in imitating me, brothers and sisters, and pay careful attention to those who live according to the example you have in us. You notice that Paul doesn't just say, hey, create some goal that's out there that you can think about. Put it on a vision board. Write it down in your journal or on your organizer or on your planner. That's not what Paul says. Paul says, if you're reaching forward to something that is out there that you haven't yet attained, the way to attain it is to start acting right. Start acting differently. Think differently than you have. Change who you are, and you will accomplish what you set out to accomplish. But it's about changing your person. And that's exactly what Scripture teaches us again and again. These are just some of the passages that use the illustration of, I have crucified the old man and been raised as a new man, and the old stuff, the old activities, the old things, they've gone away, and I am now a new person, a new man, something that is actually acting and thinking and living differently than I did before. The truth is, I have year after year after year tried to accomplish new things doing it the old way. And I think we do that spiritually speaking sometimes. We try to retain who we are and what we're comfortable with while saying that we need to do more of something else. I know I should read my Bible more, but I don't have time to read my Bible more. I'm so busy, and when I get home, all I want to do is relax and turn on the TV and just turn my brain off, because I've had to use my brain all day long. And so I don't know when I could read my Bible more, but yeah, I need to read my Bible more. You ever had that internal battle? Cracked up over the years where I've made the comment, typically to teenagers, I'll ask for a show of hands. Who in here reads their Bible every day? And teenagers, very few of them will raise their hand. And I'll say, okay, why? Inevitably, the answer is always, I don't have time. And I say, okay, well, why don't you wake up 10 minutes earlier? What? You want me to wake up earlier? I can't wake up earlier. That's ridiculous. You want to accomplish something different, you got to act differently to make it happen. It's that simple. That's not hard. And the way to do that is to figure out what it is that's most important to you, which is what that little workshop was about. And then figure out how you can change your behavior to match the goals that are most important. That's all I'm saying this morning. That was a long roundabout way to do that, right? But I think it's important for us to go through that thought process. The truth is, we cannot control our circumstances. Haven't we learned that this year? We're still not in control of our circumstances, and y'all prove it to me sitting out there with masks on your face. None of us want to wear masks on our face. And many of us will do it for whatever reason. We can't control the circumstances. We can't control the outcomes. We don't control the future. The truth is, we know the God who does. We know the God who has complete control. He knows every hiccup we will hit in the road. He knows all of it. And if we would learn to trust in Him, we'd do better. Psalm 33, verse 11. But the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of His heart through all generation. Psalm 127, verse 1, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Proverbs 16, verse 9, in their heart humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Proverbs 19:21, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purposes that prevail. And then James 4:13 through 15. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money. Why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will do this or we will do that. Truth is, we set out and make a lot of plans. We make a lot of resolutions on the New Year's. We make goals for ourselves. We set up vision boards. We fill out our planners. And we truly have no control over any of it. Any of it. The best we can do, brothers and sisters, is not set goals for accomplishment, but set changes in our hearts. And if we would set our goals instead of being what we want to accomplish, but who we want to be, nothing can derail that. Nothing can stop that, because it is what God has planned for us, that we be the kind of people that God has told us to be. I want to encourage you this year to change the way you think about this. To instead of being about accomplishing something, be more about being something better. That should be the goal. It's not about, I want to read my Bible more, or I want to pray more, I want to serve the community more, or I want to do this thing more, but I want to be more of what God has called me to be. I want to be, not serve more in this way, but I want to be more of a servant. That changes things. Because I don't care what the circumstances are or what the future holds, you can't be stopped from being a better servant. Your plans can be derailed like that, but your character can't. And so instead of planning accomplishments and vision boards, plan who you want to be this year. Who is it that God has put in front of me or in my heart that this is the way I should act, this is the way I should be, this is the way the world should perceive me. And let that be your goal this year. Let that guide your process. And that, I guarantee you, will lead to more successes on your planner and your calendar and your organizer than any sort of best laid plans have been. Just change who you are. I don't know what that looks like for you. It's going to look different for every single one of us. Do you realize that? That's why I wanted you to go through this little thought exercise in your bulletin. Because the goals you put there, the goals you put in those places, they're going to be your goals, nobody else's. And they're going to show what's important to you, nobody else. And as they show what's important to you, it's going to allow you to say, okay, clearly this one area of my life is deficient, and I need to do more in this way. And maybe that'll help. For some of you, that begins with becoming a Christian in the first place. It begins with belonging to God. And I encourage you to let that be your goal this year. Not, I want to be baptized, but I want to be dependent and belong to God. And do whatever it takes to make that happen. But I encourage you to let that be your goal. If that's your goal this year, there's no better time to do it than today. Don't wait till 2021. Do it now. Be baptized into Christ. Let Him wash away your sins and make you new again. If you need the invitation to get your life right, please come forward.